I see people. Only one person because that's the way my camera's working. Hey, people. Hey, everyone. So excited that you guys are here. And we only
Yeah.
have an hour together, so I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into this. First and foremost, hi from the Good Acre. Hello from the Good Acre. It's me, Chef Lachelle here. So happy to be here to do this 1 hour session. It's a lot I'm going to try to fit into this 1 hour, so I'm going to try to get going as fast as possible. So you can see me. I have a spread here. I have another camera. We're going to figure out the magic of, cameras and dual cameras. And then I also have some slides to show. If we could put up the first slide, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki with the Good Acre.
Okay.
Yeah. And my colleague, Sarah, is also here. She's going to go ahead and monitor the chat for any question that you guys might have. Also, thanks to everyone who donated when registering. We're so excited to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Lachelle's slides now, guys. Let's get started.
Thanks. Sorry, I jumped right in. I skipped over Nikki's intro, guys.
But it's all good.
I'm just as anxious and excited as you guys are. Thanks so much. Again, I'm Chef Lachelle Cunningham. I work here at the Good Acre as the Culinary Education Manager, meaning I do farm to school work around training people that are in school food service, and also created a vocational culinary training program to train people to go into school food service. So I have a lot of fun doing that. Of course, this past year has been kind of crazy, so we did a lot of virtual stuff, but we're still making it happen. Our interns are in our participants are now in internships that are at partner kitchens around the Twin Cities. So we're excited about that. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. It's probably just something about me. Yeah. And you guys can just look at that quickly. I'm not going to go in depth because, again, I want to get into the cooking and the fun. But just a little bit of my background. I started out my culinary career with my catering business, Shell's Kitchen, and then quickly joined Appetite for Change and became the executive chef of Breaking Bread Cafe, and then ended up leading there, going to St. Paul College and becoming a culinary instructor. And then that's how I kind of made my way over here to the Good Acre as a culinary instructor and the manager of our programming here. In addition to and outside of the Good Acre, I have a business called the Healthy Roots Institute, where I focus on healing through the love of food, the art of food, and the business of food. And you can go to my website and learn more about that. If you want to click to the next slide, I think it kind of says something about that. Yes, you can check out my website, LachelleCunningham.com, for more information about the Healthy Roots Institute and what I plan to do. But healing, love of food is really around cooking workshops and retreats. I do a lot of private and public events, cooking demos, done a lot of virtual stuff lately. So if you have an organization that's looking to do some cooking workshops virtually or even in person when we get back to that, check me out. You can contact me through the website. The Art of Food is culinary arts and all that. I teach with that here at the Good Acre and beyond. And then the business of food is I actually teach a food business class and help people that are interested in starting food businesses. I teach that class through the Neighborhood Development Center. So if you're interested in that, you can contact me. If you're interested in starting a food business, please check that out. So anyway, moving right along to our next slide. We're here to talk about soul food a little bit. So I have this course. It's actually a 7-part series that we're shrinking down into this 1-hour session. And it's called Beyond Soul Food. And I really look at the historical significance of soul food in the culinary landscape in America, and how soul food has contributed to and been influenced by all of these things in the culture and the history, and the different cultures that come together to make up soul food. So one thing that I like to talk about, to touch on in my class, is like, what are the influences of soul food? To me, I think of soul food really as the melting pot. It's really like the quintessential American food. It was born here. It's made of all these cultures that have culminated and come together. And so you can see on the slide here the different influences that soul food has. Of course, West African and the slaves who were brought over. That's really where it started from. it wasn't even called soul food. It was just what slaves ate, and they ended up having getting a lot of ultimately and I'm saying they're getting a lot of, I'm saying that in the wrong context. They got rations and really throwaway and garbage food that they had to take away and supplement with different flavors, usually that all often involve foraging or fishing or gardening or different things that they had to do to, supplement their diet to survive. And then, within that, so they brought a lot over, not only, all of their intelligence and know-how when it came to agriculture and all of these systems of harvesting crops, but they also brought over their know-how in intellectually on so many levels. I don't even want to get into that because I could go off on a tangent. So let me get back and talk about, in addition to that, you have the Native American influences. African slaves and Native Americans intermingled and oftentimes depended on each other and had a lot more infusion in their cultures. And so there's a lot of Native American influence in soul food. There's a lot of there's other influences, French, Spanish, the colonizers, different people that were brought over and came over for different reasons. And so it's something to think about with soul food, but I'm gonna get into talking about the recipe. I think that's what the next slide is talking about. Yeah, so today happens to be Mardi Gras. And so we are celebrating that with a sandwich that actually comes from New Orleans, because that's where most of the Mardi Gras celebrating happens at. And so, but this is a plant-based po' boy. What you should know about the po' boy sandwich is that it did start in New Orleans during I think it was in 1929. There was a strike on the streetcars, and there was a lot of political stuff going on, Great Depression. And so this sandwich was created to really, as a political, almost like a political icon, really, to kind of show camaraderie with the boys that were struggling. Now, there's a lot of background to that story, and poor boy versus po' boy, and that kind of scenarios that go along with that I'm not going to get into, but you can look up more of that history if you want. There's a lot of Cajun and Creole influence now with it being born in New Orleans. And so you're going to see that when you learn more and do more research about the po' boy. But I'm doing the po' boy today in honor of Mardi Gras. If you go to the next slide. So Mardi Gras today, what they call Fat Tuesday, it's the New Orleans Carnival celebration. It's very much tied in with Christianity and the basically culmination up to Lent and that fasting period before Easter. And so this is kind of like the celebration, the feast, the Three Kings Day, and kind of that history behind what this is. So, Fat Tuesday, Shrove Tuesday, Mardi Gras is all, the day before Ash Wednesday, where we get into starting to sacrifice for Lent, right? And so, so you can learn more about that, but we're doing the po' boy in honor of Mardi Gras. And so let's talk, because I know some people might be cooking along, and I want to get into it and show you where I'm at so far, and then we can talk more about ingredients and the other things. So if you should have gotten the recipe in advance. A lot of prep work. This is not a simple recipe, okay? Of course, I had to be complicated. So I've done a lot of pre-prep work. I'm just finishing up chopping everything for my fennel marmalade. So I'm gonna get that on the stove and start cooking. And then I'm going to toss up my coleslaw, which I've chopped up all the ingredients for already. It just needs to be dressed. So I'll do that after I get the fennel marmalade on. Then we're gonna make the aioli. We're gonna bread we're gonna put our breading on the sweet potatoes that we made. We've already pre-cooked the sweet potatoes for 20 minutes because they gotta get soft. If you do them raw, they're gonna be hard. You wanna fry them so you can get that, we're trying to emulate the fried, usually it's fried fish or fried oysters or fried catfish or shrimp that's on a po' boy. And so we're trying to mimic that with the sweet potatoes. And it actually all works together with the marmalade, the sweet potatoes, and the coleslaw and the aioli. Comes out really great. The bread you can use, I think the recipe said French rolls. When I went, they had pretzel rolls, which I actually love. So I'm doing these on pretzel rolls. We can adjust as needed. Before I keep going on and as I make my marmalade, do I have any questions from my audience or anything like that?
No questions?
Okay.
No? Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Girl.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll just keep talking then. So,
Brenda, hold on. I think we have a question from
okay.
Brenda. You got to unmute
All right,
yourself, Brenda.
Yeah, we are trying to get ready, and here in the recipe, it says in the ingredients with the coleslaw, it says 3 tablespoons of honey, but in the directions it says whisk sugar with 2 teaspoons of salt and vinegar. So how much sugar should we be whisking in?
So don't do sugar. See, you caught me because I switched from sugar to honey because I didn't want to have sugar in the recipe. So I changed it in the ingredients. So guys, bear with me. You're probably going to mark up your recipe a little bit because I have a couple little adjustments. Okay, great. So no sugar, honey instead of sugar. Okay. I try not to use sugar, processed sugar very often. So usually I'm going to switch that out.
So you want me to use 3 tablespoons of honey?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And if you don't have honey and you have sugar, use the sugar. It's just whatever you have as a sweetener. If you want to go vegan completely and you don't want to do sugar, you can do agave syrup. That can be your sweetener, or maple syrup. Okay. If you want to go completely vegan, plant-based. All right. So I'm just chopping my onions up. Any other questions? All right. So I'm just going to quickly get my marmalade on. I threw my fennel over here, but I still got to get my onions. So this takes 1 onion. It also takes a shallot and some garlic. And then we got some vinegar, salt, and our sweetener and our oil in here. And let me see, let me make sure. Yep. So I'm cheating. My recipe tells me that I should add my oil first. I'm just going to put everything in here, mix it up, and start heating it up, because it really, what we're making is a marmalade, and that's really just kind of cooking something down like a jam almost, or a jelly. I would say a jam more like. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this po' boy, this soul food topic, while I'm getting this going. So I think on the next slide, if you can throw that back up there. So the next slide after Mardi Gras, we're talking about nutritional healing. So nutritional healing is a big piece for me when it comes to food and the work that I do through the Healthy Roots Institute. And ultimately, this class that I teach Beyond Soul Food really is getting down to, healing through knowledge and understanding of our past, and how we can heal from that. But also, like, how can we understand the healing attributes of the food that we're putting together? Okay, let me stop that thought, make sure I got everything. Oh, I'm missing my garlic. So, with food, the what's the guy's name? Hippocrates, the saying, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, knowing all doctors have to take a Hippocratic oath when they actually become doctors. And really, we've lost sight of the healing, our diets, and how food heals us, and how not only does it heal our bodies nutritionally, wow, the garlic is the thing making my eyes water. It heals our body nutritionally, but food is like an equalizer. It's a way that we can come together when we cook together, when we feed each other with food, when we share a meal and break bread together. There's so much healing potential that can happen in that if we're intentional about it, and what they say nowadays, mindful. So I'm going to start crying a little bit, but just thinking about that. And as I said, those slaves, when they were creating the food, you know, the term soul food actually wasn't coined until the civil rights era, when soul became a term that was cool and started trending. But ultimately, that food was literally just what people ate, and it became celebration food over time, right? For different various reasons. But ultimately, in the beginnings, that food was there for survival. And so when they're trying to survive, they had to try to get as much out of it as they could. And also knowing that, you know, before chattel slavery, chattel slavery basically became the norm, the slaves that were brought over had really rich backgrounds and knew so much about plants and agriculture, plant medicine, healing properties, what to do with herbs and spices, how to season foods, all of that they brought with them. And so all of that knowledge is what I like to celebrate, and really digging into what the nutritional power of the food is. So when you look at this, you can see what the nutritional aspects are in some of these ingredients. We can break down all of these ingredients, okay? I've got onions, I've got garlic, I've got peppers, we've got tons, celery, you know, all kinds of things that are going into this. But I just wanted to break down two of our main ingredients, which is the sweet potatoes and the fennel. If you just look there, you can see that they're chock full of nutrients. Sweet potatoes, I mean, look at how much is in there. And I'm just giving you a glimpse. There's lots of fiber, the vitamins, there's magnesium. All of these things have benefits for our bodies. And so you can look deeper into what magnesium and those different vitamins do for your body, because I'm not going to get into that now, but I wanted to just share that with you so you could see what the difference is when we start breaking down and looking at what's nutritionally in these ingredients. Now, fennel is another one that's highly nutritious and is often used. It's actually was originally used medicinally. Okay, so it has a lot of medicinal properties. The seeds are still used. If you go to an Indian restaurant, they have the fennel seeds with the candy. It helps to settle your stomach. That licorice in there has a lot of beneficial properties for you know, just everyday kind of healing. All right, I finally got everything in here for my marmalade. I'm gonna get that on the stove right now. Get that going on a kind of a, let me turn it up a little bit because we want to hurry up. Yep, because time's flying. All right, any questions before I keep talking? All right, so what did I say I was doing next? The coleslaw. I've been doing the coleslaw, and then I'm gonna quickly whip up the aioli, and then we're gonna start frying our breading and frying our sweet potatoes. If there's no questions, I'm gonna keep going. So with our coleslaw, so the marmalade, just make sure I go back to that, I'm sorry. So you're putting everything basically into the pot, and we're gonna slowly cook it until very tender and soft, about 15 minutes, okay? I did add everything into there, so it'll just start cooking down. The recipe does say to wait to add the honey. Sorry about that. We're gonna live with it, okay? And it's gonna be delicious. So you could you can follow the recipe, or you could go. So that's the thing with recipes. They're really a guideline, right? If you know what you're doing in the kitchen, you can start to adjust and do things differently. If you don't, definitely stick strictly to the recipe. Okay. So with that, I've got all of my vegetables for my coleslaw in here.
Hey, Lachelle.
Yeah.
Quick
Hey.
question. Wondering if you hand chopped all those vegetables beforehand.
I did. I hand sliced these very thinly, as thin as I possibly could. It took me about 15 minutes, I would say. Give me a rubber spatula. Yes. So thankful for my kitchen assistant. She's hiding in the background, but Anna is here helping me out. So what's going to happen with the fennel marmalade, because I did put that sugar in there, is I got to watch it. I put the honey in there, excuse me. I got to just watch it a little bit more closely because it'll start to caramelize a little bit more quickly. So I'm okay with where I'm at with it though. Turn it down a little bit. Yep, so I chopped all the veggies ahead of time, and we sent out a note before class, kind of giving you guys some pre-prep instructions, and I had said in there I was gonna have the fennel marmalade already done. But I'm glad you guys got to see me chopping a little bit, because I mean, who doesn't want to see chopping when you're watching a cookie? Exactly. So, but I didn't do all of the coleslaw chopping in front of you guys, because I figured, once you've seen one onion being chopped, you don't need to see 8 green peppers and a cabbage. But anyway, so I am getting the ingredients for the dressing in the bottom of my bowl for the coleslaw. So it tells me to take the sugar and or honey, right? And then put that in the bottom of our bowl here and whisk that in with some, let's see here, whisk the sugar and 2 teaspoons of salt with the vinegar. So the vinegar is here, and then I've got my 2 teaspoons of salt. All right, so I got my honey in, I got my 2 teaspoons of salt, I got my whisk, and I got my vinegar, which is a tablespoon. And I'm using this gigantic bowl. I honestly feel like this is a little small of an amount here. Maybe I'll go, if you guys can see on this camera, I'm just whisking it together so it's kind of dissolved there. Give me a wooden spoon. All right, so now this also has me adding in, oh, I'm sorry. It is not 1 tablespoon of vinegar. I was looking at the fennel marmalade recipe. It's actually a 1/2 cup of vinegar. I'm like, I'm confused in my own head, but let me just go back and visit the recipe. So 3 tablespoons of honey, salt. All right, I did a whole teaspoon of salt, which is good. And then I've got now my vinegar, my full 1/2 cup of vinegar in here. All right, now that looks better, like a dressing enough for. All right, so that's my honey, my salt, and my vinegar mixed together. Now it's telling me to add my celery seeds, which is 1.5 teaspoons of that. This is celery salt. Here we go. Don't mix up the celery seeds with the celery salt, okay? Yes, it's testing me. See, I'm on my toes. Even though I was on the wrong recipe, I could still use my instincts. Okay, so it's 1 teaspoon of celery seeds. And then, it's also 1.5 teaspoons of mustard seeds. I love mustard seeds. I think they're cool when they're in there. Just kind of like, ooh, little cool added pop there. Okay, so we've added our celery seeds, our mustard seeds. We got to add some pepper. It says what, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. I'm just going to do a little pinch there. Then we add all of our veggies. Whisk this stuff again. And we're going to add all of our veggies in. I just put them in this bowl for you guys to be cute, okay, and pretty for you.
It's a beautiful,
Awesome.
Colorful bowl.
Awesome. I'm glad you all enjoy.
Hey, Lachelle, quick question. Does it matter if it's black or yellow mustard seeds?
Usually I'm using yellow, but no, I mean, you experiment. You can do anything in this recipe different. Honestly, the sky's the limit for you. This is really, like I said, a guideline. So if you have a different kind of mustard seed, definitely use that. I've never used black mustard seeds. Do they have a different flavor? Who is that?
It was me, but I think I've used them in it's like they come in pickling, spice.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, so go for it. All right, so here, I'll put this in front of the camera so you all can see. Now, normally you're gonna make this way far, oh, don't burn yourself. We're gonna make this way far in advance and let it refrigerate. But see, this is like really a pepper heavy coleslaw, okay? So I added the Napa cabbage in because I love Napa cabbage. I'll just let this sit somewhere right over here. Thank you. All right, so what are we on time? We got 5 minutes to whip together our aioli. Let me check on the marmalade. It is cooking down over here. You guys can see it. So I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. Just gotta watch it. It's not caramelizing too much, so we should be okay. All right. Now, before I do move on, I'm gonna taste that coleslaw, excuse me, and make sure I got enough salt and that I got everything in there. Got everything in, right?
Lachelle, while you're enjoying your taste of slaw, question about the difference between sort of like regular cabbage, maybe like I'm assuming a head of green cabbage, and Napa cabbage.
So yeah, green cabbage, guys, I did forget 2 ingredients, the mustard. So we need 3 tablespoons of whole grain mustard and a half a cup of mayo. Now, I just tasted this coleslaw and it could do a pinch of salt, and I would love it without the mayo because I like vinaigrette-based coleslaw. So you could leave it here. You could add the mustard in. I'm gonna go with the full recipe because I think we need all of the flavors that we want to get. I'm gonna go ahead and put those 3 in there. I'm sorry, bring me back to the questions there.
Yeah, just the difference between like
Oh,
a
the
green
cabbages,
cabbage and
yep.
Napa. Yeah.
So you have your regular cabbage, your green cabbage, your purple cabbage. No, I'm not an expert on cabbages, but those are kind of the regular, you know, kind of domestic cabbages that we see normally. And then you're gonna like, you can find your Napa cabbage, which is more like an Asian cabbage. You're not really gonna cook Napa cabbage too much. You might put it in soups and things like that, but it's a little bit less tough than your regular traditional like green or purple cabbage. I like purple cabbage a lot because it has so much nutrients in there. But a lot of times I have to, you know, make an exception. I like when I'm going to do something fresh, like a coleslaw, or maybe I'm going to do a wrap or something like that. I love to use Napa cabbage because it has more of a fresh kind of crunchiness to it. And you can get a fresh crunch from regular cabbage, but you know, it's a little bit different. And also the flavor of like your regular traditional kind of green or purple cabbage is a lot more bitter. So Napa cabbage is a little bit more kind of like a lettucey cabbage, almost kind of like romaine a little bit. Thanks, Anna. Am I burning stuff over there yet? Nope, you're good. Okay. Yeah, so I would definitely play around with using Napa cabbage more in its raw form, and I would probably cook green and purple cabbage more often. Hopefully that helps you a little bit. All right, so I now have my mayo and my mustard. I do have a taste tester in here who might want to taste test this coleslaw while we're waiting. Yeah, I think it needs a little pinch of salt personally, maybe 2. Okay. And I'm sure. They told me to leave the leftovers in the refrigerator here at the Good Acre for the staff, so no vegetable left behind. Let's go up. The mustard goes well. Now I use the vegan mayo because we're going plant-based, veganese. I have a vegan mayo recipe that I do with chickpeas. But again, we already complicated this recipe enough. So with that being said, I'm gonna quickly make the aioli. Let's talk a little bit about spices. I told you a lot of spices came over with African people during the transatlantic slave trade. Spices, seasonings, Old Bay is something you're gonna see a lot in Creole, in Cajun cooking, and seafood cookery. I don't know how many seafood that I really, will skip the Old Bay on. What I did is I made Old Bay from scratch. So you can get the Old Bay, everybody's seen the little yellow container with the red top. You can get this, great. But if you really want an authentic flavor and some more depth of flavor, then you should definitely try making it from scratch. You can make a lot more than I did. This will last me for several applications, just this little amount, because you only use about a teaspoon or two, maybe a tablespoon at the most at a time. But the recipe for the Old Bay seasoning is in your recipe packet here. I already made it. So, or use this or use whatever you would like with that. But we're gonna make the aioli, which is basically, usually when you're making aioli, you're making mayo from scratch, which we're not doing. We're again using vegan mayo. If you know what mayo is, it's eggs and basically egg yolks and oil. And it's basically a raw application of eggs. Whereas if you make hollandaise, that's going to be a cooked application of the same process, basically. But anyway, we're not doing that. We're going with the store-bought version, which basically is going to be a third a cup of our mayo, half a teaspoon of Old Bay. Now, when I made my Old Bay, I didn't put any salt in it. So you're going to have to, normally Old Bay does have some salt in it. So you're going to want to adjust based on that. Since I do have an assistant, maybe you could help me start breading the sweet potatoes so we can get those on, because we've only got about 27 minutes left or something like that. Yep. So there's actually is that it right there? Where is it? Oh, it's right here. So I'm gonna explain this really quick to you guys. We're doing a breading. So we pre-cook the sweet potatoes and we're putting a breading on them, which is basically, I do spelt flour because I like the ancient grain. Spelt flour doesn't give me as much problem as just traditional AP flour, just personally when I eat it. So we're doing half and half spelt flour and cornmeal. These are both commodity, flours and cornmeals are commodity and technically what I would call colonizer foods, but it is part of the culture. And so we're using cornmeal. Another thing you could do instead of the cornmeal is grind down corn flakes. That'll give you a crunchier texture, but I was going, super authentic and old school. So anyway, we just mixed flour, cornmeal, a little Old Bay, and I put a little more salt because it was a little bland when we did the test run. So,
Hey,
and that was
Lachelle,
because, yep.
question. If you don't have cornmeal or corn flakes, could you do just all flour for that
You could
recipe,
do
or is there
all,
another thing you'd substitute?
I would say I wouldn't just do all flour because it wouldn't be, you want to get a crunchy texture on there, and the cornmeal or the corn flakes are going to help. You could do breadcrumbs. You could do crackers or some sort of crispy crouton or something that you cut down, blended down into kind of like a, crunchy. You don't want to do it too fine like flour. Flour is a little too fine. But I mean, you could, but if you really want that texture that we're looking for, you're going to want to go with something else. If you have another grain or something dehydrated, another cereal that doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, you could do something like that. So those are other options. All right, I am looking for a third of a cup to do my aioli in, and I had one. Just throwing things around like that chef on Sesame Street. That's how we do it around here, okay? Let me check my marmalade. All right, it's still going. It's starting to caramelize down. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. You guys see it's caramelizing. All right. We have everything. Yep, everything's good in there. All right. So on with our aioli. I've got my, let me get another spatula here. All right, so I've got the actual mayo. I've got the garlic that I minced up in there. It wants me to do a half a teaspoon of, let's see, a half a teaspoon of Old Bay. And this one smells really good. Now, one of the ingredients in the Old Bay, which I'm surprised no one asked me about, well, maybe you didn't look at it that closely, but it's ground bay leaves. So I believe I've seen ground bay leaves like maybe once in my life. Excuse me. Spices getting in there. But I'm putting a little tiny, just a sprinkle of cayenne. All right, we got some fennel leaves, just a teaspoon of those that I'm gonna chop up a little bit more to go in here. So anyway, bay leaves, they don't come ground, they come in leaves. And if I were to just put them in there, they would just be big leaves, right? And they're kind of sharp and they can cut you potentially. So what I did was I ground them down. I just put a bunch of them. Actually, I was looking for the spice grinder, which of course I found after I was done. But I just put them in a blender and ground them down. And they kind of look like filet, gumbo filet. I'll come over here. They kind of look like gumbo filet or like sassafras leaves ground up. And they smell really, really, really good. Okay. So just really kind of floral and almost like tea. So they're basically kind of like a tea leaf. So I got everything in there. Just the last thing that goes in our aioli is our lemon juice. And then we're gonna get to frying up our sweet potatoes and building our sandwiches. Any questions in the meantime? Any thoughts? I know I talked about a lot of stuff about soul food history, about Mardi Gras, about po' boys, about these ingredients and what nutrients are in them. Any nutritional healing questions? I study a lot of plant medicine. I'm no doctor or medicine woman or anything like that, but I do love to study plants. I do a lot of foraging. I live in North Minneapolis and I do a lot of foraging over at Theodore Wirth Park. And there's tons of medicinal herbs over there. I found over 30 plants. I'm not gonna tell you where I get my berries from because it's a secret. But there's all kinds of black cat raspberries and mulberries. All right, just showing you guys the aioli that's all mixed together. It's got the mayo, the vegan mayo, some garlic, some of the fennel leaves that we use, that we reserve from the fennel. And then, what else did I put in there? Oh, I still got to add some lemon juice. I just wanted to mix it up. I need to. Oh, so I can taste things.
All right, Lachelle, I got a couple questions for you.
Sure, let's take them.
Would you recommend making the aioli ahead of time? And if you were, how far ahead would you make it, or like how long will it keep for?
The aioli can keep, as a condiment, can keep for up to a week. So you could make that, and it kind of gets better with time. So you could actually make this, up to a day or two in advance, if you want it to be really fresh. And like I said, it can keep for up to a week, maybe even, I wouldn't keep it longer than a week because of the fresh garlic. If you put fresh garlic into things, you can't keep them for longer than a week. FYI, botulism, a food safety tip for you guys. You're welcome. So yeah, keep that You can make that definitely. I would make my aioli in advance. You can make the coleslaw. I wouldn't make the coleslaw more than a day in advance. I like coleslaw kind of like fresh, but also fresh, but also, you know, kind of marinated ultimately. Give those veggies a chance to marinate. All right, so any other questions, Sarah?
We have a question about plant healing classes. TGA isn't specifically offering anything right now. If that's something there's a lot of interest in, you know, we're looking for ideas in these times. We're being adaptable, but I know Lachelle does some stuff through her platform.
Yeah, definitely contact me if you're interested in doing some things. I have some programming that's going to be coming up this summer where I'll be working with Frogtown Farm, and we'll be doing some plant walks and foraging and different things like that. And there's I love that stuff. So yeah, we can definitely think about doing some stuff with TGA, because we know a lot of farmers, and even though they're farming certain things, there's still a lot of plants and other things in the vicinity of farms, or you know, a lot of stuff that's growing in your backyard that you don't even realize is medicine, like dandelions and plantain and creeping Charlie and violets. All of those things have medicinal properties. All right. Yay. My kitchen assistant is doing all the right things. We're cooking down this marmalade. Now, I feel like something is off about this marmalade for me. I feel like it might need a little bit more honey. Yeah, or maybe it just needs to cook down. I'm just drizzling a little bit more honey on there. Okay, so what else do we have? We have our pretzel bread, and I am going to, normally I would throw my grill pan on at home and grill the bread, but I think what we'll do is just grill it on a pan. Now I'm a cast iron skillet. Actually, can you grab a cast iron skillet from in there? Yep, in the dry goods. I like toasting my buns on a cast iron skillet. So we've got our coleslaw, we've got our aioli, we've got our marmalade going. Now I'm gonna come over here and we're going to do our sweet potatoes. I'm actually gonna switch burners here. And now we're over here. You guys see it? You all can see that, right? All right, I'm switching it because my station is right over here. You can't see all of this. But what we've done for the sweet potatoes is that we have, oh, okay, I'm over here now. That's cool. What we've done for the sweet potatoes is we cut them into rounds, and I didn't peel them or anything. I just left the skins on because, again, nutrition, right? You get a lot of minerals and some vitamins more from the skin. And so I'm turning my fire on here, let it heat up, and perfect. And also turn my marmalade heat going on low for this entire time. So I'm turning my flame on. About 350 is what we're looking for. I did already fry a test batch in here. That's why there's some debris in the bottom, but it's fine. We don't want it to burn. So again, we cut the potatoes into rounds, and then we just bake them in the oven at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Because we don't want to bread and fry them raw. They won't cook in the center fast enough before the outside burns. So, can you give me another sheet tray? A half one. So then after we cook them, we let them cool. Then we dip them in a plant-based milk. I really like, I'm not a label promoter. I'm not here to promote any labels, but a lot of the plant-based milks have a sweet vanilla flavor to them. And so I really like Ripple. It's a pea protein. I'm not promoting this as a brand. I like the fact that it tastes like there's no sweetness. A lot of them have like vanilla, even the unsweetened ones of, you know, the Silk or whatever other brands, oat milk or whatever. They all have too much sweetness. This one tastes literally like unsweetened milk. So that's why I like the Ripple brand. Do get the unsweetened one. So we cut the potatoes, cooked them, and then cooled them. We dipped them into the milk, and then we dipped them into our mixture of the cornmeal, the spelt flour with the Old Bay, and some salt. And so now we breaded them. You could even bread these twice if you wanted to. Actually, I might try that on a couple of these to see the difference. Because if you bread them twice, you'll probably get a more crunchy texture. The other thing, and we didn't try it because I didn't have time. I like to shop at the co-ops and everything usually. And someone told me about using cornflakes, which they don't have at the co-op, but they have this millet rice. And it has a little bit, it just has juice. So it probably has like a little sweetness to it, much. So I was thinking about maybe trying it out and using this in replace of the cornmeal or in addition to. So adding this into the breading because you'll get a more of a crunch. But again, I'm not doing that today and I'm not promoting any brand, but I'm gonna try that out at some point. All right, so I believe that we might be ready here. Yep. So you don't want to throw let's make sure I have the tongs before I start frying a bunch of stuff. So you don't want to throw anything into your oil if it's not sizzling like it is here. You see it's sizzling. I might even need to turn it down a little bit.
Lachelle, what oil are you using?
I'm using grapeseed oil, which is a great high heat, neutral flavored oil. You could use another oil. I prefer to use grapeseed oil if I'm frying anything. And it's actually more nutritious. Grapeseed are good for you. That's why when you eat seeded grapes, watermelon, you should eat watermelon seeds. I know that's like so against what we all think, but it's told certain things about like that a watermelon's going to grow in your stomach if you eat a watermelon seed. Lo and behold, they're actually good for you. So you have grapeseed oil. For the other thing, I use olive oil for the what else did I do? Oh, I use that for the marmalade. And so usually when I'm cooking, I'm going to use grapeseed oil. If I'm doing raw applications, I'm going to use olive oil or avocado. I'm getting a great browning on these potatoes. I've got a nice little thing here. And I am just going to fry a few of these, and then we're going to build our. Yes, please. With the there's a bread knife in my knife bag right over there, or up there. Either of those work for you. All right, so
Hey, Lachelle.
Yep.
We're having some sporadic sort of like audio and glitchy camera stuff. I'm wondering.
Are you?
Yeah.
Should I turn off one of the cameras or something?
Maybe.
Should I turn off the other camera since I'm over? But I'm getting ready to go back to the other camera.
It seems like it's okay right now. So.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Technology.
And a question about how deep is your oil that you're frying in?
Oh, my oil is barely enough, just covering. It's basically, I don't know, maybe an inch or less than an inch in the pan. Not very deep. This is a shallow frying pan. So technically, just enough to kind of barely cover the potato so that I can then flip them. And as you guys can see, they're nice and breaded and crispy. I didn't even double bread them. Okay, so she's cutting the bread, and then we can throw that on one of those buns in this pan over here on the cast iron. Thank you. my trusty assistant. All right, so almost done. Any other questions?
Yeah, just got a question from Sheila, wondering if there's an option to bake them instead of frying.
Yeah, you can bake them. Now, the breading situation, I would probably go with the corn flakes for the breading. That'll probably work better. Kind of like shake and bake, I guess is the best way I can think of it. So if you want to do something like a shake and bake breading, and then you probably would want to bake them at a higher temperature. Okay, so they can get crispy. You probably still want to pre-bake them for the 20 minutes, then bread them in your breading, and then let me put my stuff before I don't want to burn anything. Sorry, you will want to do it at a higher temperature. The other one I was thinking about was air frying. If you had an air fryer, that might be a cool way to do it. But yeah, you could definitely try it out. If you're gonna do it in the oven, like I said, pre-bake them, bread them, maybe try the cornmeal breading. And then also I would bake them on like a rack like this on your pan so you can get some air flowing around it. So you don't want it to be flush up against the pan because it will be hard to get. You really want that crispiness, right? When you bite into a po' boy, usually there's some crispy oysters or, like I said, fish or something like that. Okay.
Awesome.
So
And
that's what we're emulating.
Yeah,
Mhm.
how long are you frying the potatoes for? It seems like maybe a couple minutes and you're flipping them.
Yep, just a couple of minutes. They were probably only, what was that? Maybe 2 to 3 minutes per side. And I was really going by color more than time. So I turned my heat off now. I got my heat nice and hot, at least 350 degrees. You don't want to get it too hot. You don't want it to be smoking, okay? And like I said, the grapeseed oil is a high heat oil, but you still don't, it can still burn. So you don't want it to be smoking. If you use a thermometer, great, 350, no more than 375. I thought I put my phone on do not disturb. I just got a call. That was weird. Are you guys back with me? Okay, good. I'm sorry. So yeah, you want the oil to be between 350 and 375, and then cook them for about 2 to 3 minutes per side until they get your nice golden brown, and just keep flipping them. And obviously, you want to avoid overcooking them. Okay. So now I've got my bread ready. We got our last few minutes where I can maybe plate up the sandwich. Any other questions? I hope you guys are enjoying this at least. I feel kind of disconnected because I can't see you. Like normally I can see my students and I can't see you all. All right, so I got a nice toast on the bread. I might go a little longer in other times, but not today. All right, so avoid that. I've got my marmalade here. I've got my aioli. I've got my coleslaw. Ooh, coleslaw. And then I've
Hey,
got.
Lachelle,
Yep.
question on that marmalade. Jessica says that hers is not caramelizing quite yet. Any suggestions?
Did you put the honey in yet?
She did, yes.
It's getting soft, right? It
Yep.
could be your flame. Because mine caramelized, I don't know if you're using a gas or an electric stove.
Yeah, it's gas. It's getting soft. It just doesn't look as pretty as yours. That's all.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that, but thank you. Keep going. You can turn your heat up a little bit. Excuse me, turn your heat up and let it really start to sizzle a bit. And honestly, it doesn't have to be super browned like that. You just want it to cook down and be more soft than anything. So I'm going ahead and making, let's see, can I move this out of the way so you guys can see? All right, so I'm putting aioli down. Oops. Putting aioli down on my bread. If you guys have not had pretzel bread, I mean, it's like a thing now, but I was doing it before it was a thing, okay? But if you have not had toasted pretzel bread with some sort of sandwich in your life, you're missing out a little bit, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put down my, and I'm gonna use some smaller ones, actually. That one was kind of big. I'm gonna put down my sweet potatoes like such. And I have some marmalade on here. Okay. And this could actually, honestly, this marmalade isn't exactly how I want it either. I think I would cook this down much longer. So I actually probably would like what your marmalade, can I see yours? I don't know. But if you guys could show me your marmalades, but I actually would like mine cooked down slower. I tried to cook it a little too fast. So we do want to kind of low and slow cook it. So all the juices and the moisture. See, the moisture didn't come out of my onions as much and get really soft. So
Brenda's got a nice looking marmalade going there.
Let's see. I see your thing, Brenda, I think. Yeah. Yeah. See, I like that. I like the look of yours. I think yours looks actually better than mine. Even though the caramelization is good, lower and slower would have been better. I was just teaching a class, and trying to do too much, I think. But if
TV
I had,
magic.
trying to make TV magic happen, exactly. So anyway, I put a little marmalade down. I'm gonna put a little coleslaw down. It's already smelling like a po' boy. Of course it is, because it is. It's a po' boy. Now it can get a little messy at this point, but it wouldn't be a po' boy if it wasn't a messy sandwich, okay? I actually went to New Orleans and went to the restaurant where they started making these, and it was really messy and delicious. It had oysters and all of the fish that I wanted on there. Okay, but plant-based. All right, taste tester. Okay, I got a plate over here for you. I'm just gonna cut this. Now, again, choose your bread how you would like. Here, let me just put, you guys can see, yum. Looks so good. Okay, here. Fried fish. Thank you. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna just try it. I will grab a plate like a civilized person. If I was at home, I'd eat it right off the cutting board. But I have some manners. All right, so if you guys have it at home, are you tasting with me, or you already tasted, maybe?
Watch how neat you are doing this.
Oh my God. I like it.
Oh, that's good.
It is
How much
good.
aioli do I have on my face?
I know, right? It's good.
This is
Yum.
the saddest part about not having in-person
Definitely.
cooking classes right now.
Clean up the plate with a fork after.
I know. Let me get you a fork.
I have one here.
Okay, good. Yum, guys. Yum.
Lachelle, you made it look so easy. I feel like I'm going to attempt this now that I've seen what's possible.
It's a little, if you can break it apart and maybe do a little pre-prep the day before. This is a special sandwich. You're not just gonna whip this up, right? I mean, you could cut some corners, right? You don't have to do a fancy aioli. You can get an aioli already made, or just use some mayo, right? You could make a quicker coleslaw, or just a quick coleslaw. It doesn't have to be this particular coleslaw. You can have coleslaw that's already made. I don't know why I'm saying that, but you could do that. you know, you could already have, now I don't know where you're gonna get fennel marmalade. I think you should take the time to make the fennel marmalade and bread the sweet potatoes properly. Maybe you don't make the Old Bay, right? So there's some ways you can cut back, right? Because, you know, in real New Orleans style, they're making the bread, they're catching the fish, they're doing everything from scratch, or at least they're, you know, working with other businesses who do the bread or catch the fish, or however that works, but it's all fresh. And that's what I love about the sandwich. You know, happy Mardi Gras, happy Black History Month.
You have one more slide.
Oh, I do have more slides. Can you put those up? And please interrupt with any questions. We can go to the next one. Don't leave. So I have some classes coming up. And if you aren't already, please follow me on Facebook. And mostly Facebook is where I post mostly. I try to post on Instagram as much as possible. But you can follow me there. You can check out my website and contact me there. If you go back to the previous slide, I have some classes coming up. One through Farm Table, but it's virtual. We're doing a different I'm doing a different recipe from my Beyond Soul Food class. I think it's a collard green wrap, a vegan collard green wrap, but I'm doing that in collaboration with some other local wellness chefs. So you can find out more if you just contact me directly if you're interested in signing up, or go to my Facebook page. I've posted about it. But this storytelling through food series that I have coming up. Again, I also have that class I teach through the Neighborhood Development Center, the food industry class. So if you're interested in starting a food business, you can check that out through my Facebook as well. I also have some more of my whole series, the whole entire 7-part series of Beyond Soul Food is coming out starting in April. I'm releasing it through Mississippi Market and their virtual classes. And so look for more information on that. But that is literally a full 7-part series. So we dig deeper into each session specifically. This was kind of more of a general soul food, Mardi Gras, you know, deal today. Happy to do it, love doing it, but I also love digging deeper into these topics. So you can learn more about that at my website. And please follow me, keep up with me, reach out to me, and support us at the Good Acre. Get a farm share. Check out the vocal program if you're interested in culinary training. We have a new cohort coming out this summer. Or, you know, we're taking applications for that to start this summer. If you don't know about the vocal program, check out our website at the Good Acre. Look under programs. You can learn about our vocational culinary training program if that might be something you're interested in. It is a paid program, and you're getting a really great culinary training from me, yours truly, but you're also getting your Serve Safe food manager certification, getting connected with doing internships, and something really cool and awesome you can put on your resume. So check us out.
Thank you,
And
Lachelle.
I think that's
Great
it.
job. Yes,
Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Thanks everyone who tuned in tonight, and stay tuned for the
Thanks,
announcement on the
guys.
next Discover event we're doing with our friend Beth Dooley, who joined us tonight. So
Hey,
thank
Beth.
you. Yeah, thanks, Lachelle. Thanks
I don't
everyone for
care.
tuning in.
Too bad. Julie and Joe.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Lachelle. Have a
Thanks,
great night,
guys.
everyone.
You too. Good night.
Bye-bye.